Welcome to another Patreon request review video. This month, my patron on Patreon asked me to watch Love, Death, and Robots. And I am so glad that he did. I remember hearing about Love, Death, and Robots, back when it first came out in 2019. I can't believe it's been that long. Wow. It's been 3 years since the first season came out. And I always wanted to watch it, but now I finally got to. And holy cow, I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting to just have so much classic sci-fi. Now, what I mean by classic sci-fi is if you look way back at the history of science fiction, a bunch of it is short stories. Back in my freshman year at college, I took a sci-fi literature class, and this first season of Love, Death, and Robots is basically continuing that. So, classic sci-fi is full of short stories that are just like these shorts in this first season of Love, Death, and Robots, where it takes a concept that's a little strange, a little weird, and it really just explores it. And there's often twist endings, or there's often things that don't even make sense. And like, oh my goodness, yeah. Like this anthology series of that I've seen. I've only seen the first season, and there's a second season. And now that I've enjoyed the first one so much, I'll have to go and watch that one because it basically perfectly translates all of those short stories into a visual format, and it's really cool. And the sheer variety of everything is incredible. Like, there are so many studios that worked on this project. Let's see, I've got the Wikipedia page. There are a ton of studios that I've never even heard of that are working on this. There's Axis Studios, Platige, I don't even know what that. Sony Pictures Imageworks, Passion Animation Studios. Like, there are so many, but bar none, the best come from the best animation comes from Blur Studios. Blur is like legit one of the greatest animation studios ever. They don't make movies. They make stuff like this. If you've seen Halo Wars 2 or the Halo 2 remake for the Master Chief Collection, the pre-rendered cutscenes in those two games made by Blur. And from what I've read, it kind of seems like Blur, like the higher ups at Blur Studio, they sort of spearheaded this project. Like, not only did that studio animate a ton of the shorts, they actually had like leadership that made it so that this entire project was able to get off the ground. I might be wrong about that, but that's sort of the feeling that I get. And like just an example of the absolute incredible sorts of stories that are told here is one of my favorite shorts of this entire first season, called Zima Blue. And it literally is the story of a robot that was made to clean swimming pools that over the years, and as people kept upgrading it, eventually became sentient and became an artist. So, pool cleaning robot becomes sentient artist, gets himself a man-shaped body, and creates these massive works of art. And it turns out that the thing that really captured his imagination was big blue squares, because they reminded him of the blue tiles that were on swimming pools that he used to clean. And, like, that is classic sci-fi, where it just wants to tell a crazy out there story, but it tells it in a very intimate, measured, real way. And it does it very quickly. In fact, it's like a bunch of these shorts, if they were to be made into actual, like short stories that in written format, it probably wouldn't take much longer to read them with all the detail that's included than it takes to watch it. So, full disclaimer, this series has quite the bit of nudity. In fact, I'd say, yeah, there's a lot of nudity. And it's like, yeah, it's just be aware that that's there. And I kind of think that, most of these stories could have done without. Yeah, most of them could have done without. In fact, yeah. So yeah, I think that's my biggest critique. I'm not the biggest fan of that. But then it's kind of worth wading through it because there are so many incredible stories. Like, full disclosure, I think my favorite might be the last episode of the entire season, The Secret War, where this takes the cake of being just an example of a story with an absurd premise, but with some serious execution. Because it literally is like, pre-World War II era Russian soldiers going out into the forest and the wilderness to fight basically demon spawn. And it is so good. Like, it is so good. Because where else besides this, science fiction story are you going to get that era of soldiers fighting a legit fight against these nasty, flesh-thirsty creatures? Like, you're not, like, this is the only place you're ever going to find that. It's like, I've said it before and I'll say it again. One of the things that I love about animation is the ability to show things that you will never see, ever. And I'm never going to see anything like that, but now I have. And this was one of the studios that sort of does what Blur does with photorealistic animation. But let's talk about that. So Blur and the other studios that do that sort of work, they have a style where it's like completely realistic, but at the same time you can still tell that it's CG. And I think that's on purpose, because you really can have photorealistic where you can't tell the difference between it and real life. But I think that it's a deliberate choice to be ultra realistic, but not indistinguishable from reality. And I think it's really interesting. Like, look at Halo Wars 2. Those cutscenes are really good, but you can tell that they're cutscenes. And you can tell it in this, but yeah. So, yeah. Long story short, Love, Death, and Robots is something that I am really glad exists. I kind of wish there was less profanity, less nudity. Yeah. It's like, basically all of these stories could work if they were just like Invincible. Invincible it wasn't shy about the violence. In fact, it like kind of relished in the violence, and so do some of these shorts. But it was able to do all it did without, going full frontal nudity. So, yeah. Love, Death, and Robots. So, now here's the question. Do I recommend it to anybody? Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. I would hesitate to. Like, and anybody who thinks that they might be interested into it, it's like I have completely I guess I've given all the disclaimers it needs. But I am glad that it exists, and I can't wait to watch the second season. Thanks for watching.